You good?
Me realizing we still didn't cold open.
We'll get there eventually. Welcome back to the James and Dame Show. I'm Josiah.
And I'm Will.
He's busy doing stuff.
I'm doing.
He's busy.
I'm
But this episode will be talking about the predictions, picks for this next week, kind of going over for week 3. So, week 3 picks, just kind of going over that and maybe do a quick power ranking once we have that kind of squared away. But looking to that Thursday night game, we've got the Patriots visiting the Jets. This is one where Patriots have looked decent. I will admit that. However, I don't think this is where the Patriots truly win a lot. I think the Jets are one of those games where they're good. They're not good enough, I think. I think the Jets are slowly trying to get back to form. We did predict that the Patriots were going to be one of the bottom feeders this year, but they've looked decent so far. So maybe this will be a lot closer. However, I'm going to at least go with the Jets. Mostly because, I don't know, I have more faith in the Aaron Rodgers and Jets defense than I do the less talented Patriots roster. So that's just me.
I think it's pretty fair. Like looking at it, I think especially people who are looking at this season still through the lens as they did from the beginning of the year.
Yep.
The Jets are expected to be the better team, look like they could be the better team. But I look at this as one, a matchup of coaching, which Mayo has just done a very good job of coaching that team so far. He's relied on the parts of that team that actually have performed well, being the run game and the defense. And, well, I mean, last time we saw the Jets go up against a strong run game and a good defense, they got smacked around by the 49ers.
Yeah. It's the 49ers still. Those are a juggernaut.
They are,
They're
but
a juggernaut.
just looking at it, I think the run defense for the Jets is going to have a little bit of a tough time.
Yeah.
I think
a focus they need to worry.
Again, I think the Patriots do what they need to do to win. You're not going to see Brissett do a lot, but he doesn't need to, as he hasn't in weeks past. I think Jets will still make this interesting. I don't think it'll be a blowout or anything, because I don't see the Patriots blowing anyone out this year. But I do have the Patriots going into MetLife and pulling out a win over the Jets.
All right. Well, there's our first disagreement right away.
Yeah.
Yeah, frick.
We can't both be wrong on Thursday if we pick different teams.
Different teams.
Unless it's a tie.
Yeah, whatever. But for Sunday at noon, at least the first one slated, Giants visiting the Browns. Oh, gosh.
This is going to be an ugly game.
It's going to be the Browns, but it's going to be ugly.
It definitely could still be the Giants. As we saw against the Commanders, they still have some ounce of competitiveness, and and the Browns have only been able to play one half of football through in each of their first 2 weeks. First week was nowhere near enough, and second week it was enough. So it's I think more reliant upon what kind of offense the Browns allow the Giants to have.
Yeah.
Is it gonna, because if it's like it was against the Jaguars, Browns might be screwed. If it's the one that they allowed or no, what? No. If it's the
You
one,
think you flipped?
I flipped them. If the Browns allow the Giants to have a day like they had against the Commanders, they might be screwed. But if it's the same kind of day they allowed, or that the Giants had against the Vikings, I think they'll be fine. I don't see Malik Neighbors having as big of a day, and I think that was kind of the key point in them performing the way they did last week.
It was just a boom for him that week. And the Commanders don't have as good as a defense compared to the Browns.
No,
least-
the Commanders' defense is
On,
very
on
concerning.
paper, they don't. So
but-
I think the Browns will be able to
I'm-
tone down the.
I'm leaning towards the Browns, but
Yeah.
it might be a close 16-13 game.
It's going to be an ugly game. It's probably going to be one of those like 18-15 scores, something like that. It's going to be one of those weird ones. Also, 94% of people say the Browns are going to win, which is kind of crazy. I mean, I don't blame them. The Giants
No
have not
faith
been
in-
promising.
No faith in the Giants. Giants choked away last week. I don't have any.
They don't look
No
at
faith.
all. And then another noon game, we have Packers visiting the Titans. I'm confident in Malik Willis and his ability to at least manage a game,
Revenge game.
revenge game as well. I think the Packers should be able to win this one pretty convincingly, or at least not convincingly, but enough to be like they didn't really struggle as much as they did to the Colts, unless the Titans like do really well with Levis and actually have some sort of offense. But I don't see anything leaning towards a Titans victory right now.
The thing I look at with this one is you probably just see kind of similar to what we've seen out of the Titans recently. I'm assuming the Packers are going to lean on the run game again. I don't think the Packers are going to like run over them necessarily to the same extent,
No.
but they're going to kind of just lean on that and allow the Titans to make the mistakes they've made in weeks past.
Agreed.
And those mistakes are enough to lose them games. So allowing that to be the case, Malik Willis just needs to go out there and not, turn the ball over a bunch.
Yeah.
A
pretty
similar day to what he had last time, and I think they're gonna be good enough to get their second win of the year.
Yeah.
I'm going Packers.
Going Packers. Oh, and to respond to a couple people during the Grossi raid. Go Pack, go. You're happy? Good. That'd make one of my friends happy at the very least. On the
Moving on to the
so NFC North and AFC South, another one of those.
you actually have 3 this week.
Yeah, Bears and Colts. Williams has not looked promising against the Texans. I don't expect him to look very promising against the Colts. Colts might have the slight edge as of right now because Richardson, I mean, like you said, if he throws for less, he tends to do better. So
Completion wise,
yeah.
he's better completing under 10 passes than he is over 10 passes.
So maybe, I don't know. The Bears defense is pretty good though, so I can't factor that out quite yet. So it's a very close toss up. It's about 52-48 right now between people. I'm going to stick with the Colts as of right now, mostly because I don't know. Williams did not look great. They had their chance to beat the Texans, and they kind of blew it because they had many opportunities. It's just that offense just did not do anything. Williams is constantly dying in the pocket, and I mean, I don't know how good the Colts defense is compared to the Texans, but they're about the same level, I think, or very close, I would assume. So I don't know. I trust the Colts more than the Bears right now.
Yeah, that is fair. Looking at it, it's
But you don't agree with that.
it's tough because the Bears also only lost to the Texans by 6,
This is
despite it's their defense has just been that good,
Mm-hmm.
despite their offense doing little to nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And
Do you think it will be ending up like the first week where the Bears rally the defense and somehow beat the Titans? Do you think it'll be something like that, or do you think it'll be something where defense suffocates the Colts and then somehow the Bears at least win by more than 3?
I think what you probably see, because the thing that was unlikely with the Titans is the amount of points the defense and special teams actually scored, not getting the ball and expecting the offense to score. This game really is going to come down to Anthony Richardson and his ball security.
Yeah.
Is how well can he keep the ball in Indianapolis possession and move the ball.
Agreed.
Because when he did that versus Houston, they looked pretty good. But when he was more willy-nilly with it against the Packers, they, had several turnovers, and that cost them a lot. I'm going to kind of bank more on Chicago's offense taking a slight step forward and their defense stepping up.
Okay.
Unfortunately for the Colts, not that I just don't have any faith for the Colts, but
It's a fair assumption.
I just think the Bears are going to be one of those teams
it's a
that's
toss-up
going to
game.
be, they're not fun to predict, but
Random weeks they do, and random weeks they don't.
they're going to have
To be
they're
determined.
going to have a good offensive week at some point, and can
One
I
day
get it
they'll
right?
be good on offense. I don't know.
I have
I don't know.
maybe.
But another NFC North and AFC South matchup: Texans and Vikings.
This one's interesting.
Yeah, I'm still gonna go with the Texans, only because I don't want to displease the Strouds. But another thing is that the Vikings they've looked decent. They did beat the 49ers. However, I don't know. This is one of those ones where I can see an upset here, but I don't think it's going to happen, especially with the Texans. Like, the Texans are going to be battling for the AFC crown right now, especially with that team. And
Yes?
yeah, staring at the camera.
Yeah.
I think he's trying to talk to somebody through the camera
I'm sending messages.
telepathically. Dang, they're loud. So, people who are new, this is not technically our space. It's the university's space. So sometimes we have people like that. I don't know if it'll be picked up or not. So we'll see.
I see another upset because I think the Vikings are going to go in and Justin Jefferson's going to have a pretty good day. I have no idea if Jordan Addison's supposed to be back.
I thought he was out for at least another game or two.
He might have been. I'm not sure. I still think they go in there. I think run game looks pretty solid. I think their defense is going to do enough. Not that like necessarily all these things are expected to be good all year or whatever. I think Vikings squeak out a win, especially playing at home. I think Texans are still going to be a good team. I think it's going to be close.
Agreed.
But something in Sam Darnold right now seems like he's going to pull out a win here. Seems like he's going to have a pretty good season. I think the Vikings could actually they're looking pretty good. I like how they look. And again, just being at home, going against the Texans, I just feel like it leans in Minnesota's favor a little bit for some reason.
Next matchup. This is going to be interesting. This is another toss-up game. Philadelphia visiting the Saints.
I'm going Saints.
I am also going to go Saints on this one.
Until they play a close game, I'm going Saints.
Yeah.
At least until the game's close.
And I'm also not convinced the Eagles have turned things around quite yet. Yeah. Especially with last week's performance. I don't know. I don't think it's going to happen. So I think the Saints might win this one. If you're a Saints fan, the future's looking very promising right now.
Let's see if you can do it 3 weeks in a row. But again, after doing it for the first 2 weeks, even if this is dead wrong and you take a major step back, or even if I have any reason to believe that, you did it 2 weeks in a row. I think you just earned the
respect of a lot of people.
Yeah, just enough.
Be proud that you were able to do that to the Cowboys of all teams. Like that's impressive.
So moving on to the Chargers at
Chargers.
Steelers.
Go Chargers, go.
2-0 team. This one's
another 2-0 team.
This one's interesting.
I am going to go with the Chargers because they have impressed me, specifically on the offensive side of the ball. Harbaugh is doing pretty well over there. Herbert actually looks somewhat comfortable now. He's not dying all the time because Joe Alt and all those pieces. But for once, I've seen Herbert be confident in himself when it comes to just throwing or scrambling or whatever he's doing. Like he's not constantly double guessing himself, or he's confident in what the play is and he's gonna go through with it. So I think Harbaugh has, struck some motivation into him. It's refreshing, honestly, especially with that kind of a slop with Brandon Staley. I don't know. I like being optimistic. Chargers, I think, will probably at least keep it close because that Steelers defense is really good. However, I do think the Chargers might be able to squeak a win out, probably by 3, maybe 4 points. But keep it close.
This one's tough because
it is difficult.
The Raiders have a good defense, but that's predominantly in the run game. Pittsburgh's defense is just tough.
Yeah,
on another level.
Specifically TJ Watt. He is the soul of that team. If you stop TJ Watt, you stop that defense, basically.
I don't even know that that's true. Obviously TJ Watt is the focal point of that defense, but I think that defense as a whole is just really tough to go against.
I just thought of something. Do you think Joe Alt will be going up against TJ Watt?
I'm sure a few times because I'm sure TJ will switch sides, around, but I believe he's playing left tackle.
Mm-hmm. I think he is a left tackle.
Unless they have him on the right side. TJ usually plays on the left side, so I'm sure he'll get him a couple times, but
that'll be an interesting thing to see.
See if the rookie can
compete with Mr. TJ.
But it's going to be kind of a competition. Again, Chargers defense looks good. I think the question is, can the Chargers still get over 20 points? Because that's what they've done. They're averaging 24. It was 22 and 26, and then keeping their opponent under 10 has kind of been the fashion in which they've been winning.
Mm-hmm. With how the Steelers' offense has been, it's possible.
You can do that. It's how your offense performs against that defense because
that's the matchup.
It's a much bigger. It's like a much higher step up against that defense than what you have played. I think I'm still gonna go with the Chargers because I think Harbaugh will be able to do enough to get the ball rolling.
It looks promising over there in LA. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, Steelers kind of are relying a lot on their defense and not so much on their offense, and I think that Chargers are going to be an example of where you have to do a little bit of have a little bit of both sides of the ball.
Agreed.
Because the Chargers do have that right now in the run game, and maybe Herbert has a little bit more of a Herbert game than
he might.
But
he's due for one for a while.
We'll see. We'll see if they actually try and rely on that at all.
Next game, yeah, this one's an easy one. Tampa Bay hosting the Broncos. Tampa Bay. Like, there's no explanation needed. Baker Mayfield has proven himself to be better than what he's been given off for the past couple of years. He's becoming one of those quarterbacks that are just going to be. I can't believe I'm saying this, but Baker Mayfield is currently in the MVP conversation, if I recall correctly. I mean, it's all way too early, but a lot of people are like, "Wow, Baker Mayfield might actually be in the MVP conversation." Granted, the major victory recently was obviously against the Lions. You beat the Lions. You have been doing really well. So I do think the Buccaneers will come and destroy the Broncos because Bo Nix will not be ready to go up against that defense. That defense is pretty decent.
It's gonna be rough. Obviously the Buccaneers are playing well. I don't know why this is the case, but I'm looking at this game, seeing Bo Nix actually have a solid game.
Like, not a terrible game, but at least a competent game for a rookie QB.
Yeah, and their defense hasn't been like the Broncos' defense hasn't been horrible.
They've lost some pieces though.
Well, absolutely they've lost pieces, but even that young defense has kind of done solid. Again, you're not playing like offenses that have been outstanding in any regard, but
Yeah.
you're kind of given a chance to play against a defense that might be below what you have played. And even in the game, even last week where it wasn't really as close as the score showed, you've kept the score close.
Yes.
I don't know why, but I'm going Denver.
You're going with Denver in this one? You're crazy.
I don't know. Maybe I am.
I think you might be insane.
Maybe
We'll return to this. Raiders hosting the Panthers.
Raiders.
Okay, no explanation needed.
Yeah.
Seahawks hosting the Dolphins. This is the one that when we were talking about predictions, this was like a very interesting matchup because we thought originally that Dolphins would be firing on all cylinders and having a great offense and everything. Now, in week 3, it's a little concerning when it comes to the Dolphins because your quarterback, another concussion last week. That offense has not been producing as much as I thought they would be. And Seattle, sure, they got some issues here and there, specifically on the run game, but have been looking better, or at least more unified, I'd say, as a team. McDonald's been doing some work over there. It's looking promising. I think for me, I'm going with a safer bet with the Seahawks only because the Dolphins have not been like they look decent, but after that game with the Bills and everything, they have shown that they're not, up to par with the offensive expectations that we've kind of set for them. So
Those offensive expectations have not been lived up to. They're averaging 15 points a game. Again, their defense looks okay, pretty good at times. But looking at that offense that was struggling to get like even to 20 when you had Tua, you're gonna see a step back. And I think teams just have started to figure out the Dolphins. And again, without Tua, I just don't really see their offense doing enough. And again, I don't think the Seahawks are going to look great doing it, but I think
they'll be better.
Get out to 3-0 start off of some not great play, not fantastic play
wins
against concerning opponents. So yes. I'm also going Seattle.
This is the one that I actually am going to struggle with when it comes to predicting because it's the Ravens visiting the Cowboys. There are two factors that I'm trying to figure out here. So the issue I have with this game is that the Cowboys are either going to rally themselves and win at home like they normally do, or the Ravens are going to somehow regroup themselves, fix their offensive mistakes, and maybe win in Dallas. This was a difficult one, mostly because it's only week 3. Is Dallas's defense really that bad, or is it the Ravens' offense? Is it really that bad, kind of thing?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It's an interesting take. That's where I'm going to be concerned about. I don't know who to pick though. I'm leaning more Ravens right now, but also the Cowboys have shown in the past that regardless of who they play at home, they tend to do really well.
Well, I have my call. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I wonder who that could be.
I have logic behind it too, but also,
Yeah.
I don't need it if I really don't. But I have it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you want to make your guess before I make my
I
shocking pick.
I feel slightly more comfortable with the Ravens right now, only because Lamar Jackson tends to do well against, I guess, Dallas's kind of defense, I think. Dallas is more pass heavy. Or actually, well, I still think Lamar will do better against the Cowboys defense. The Raiders have a pretty good defense as well. But I think the Ravens will pick themselves back up and actually win their first game of the season against the Cowboys.
Yeah, I'm going Baltimore.
Shocking.
1, because I'm a Ravens fan. 2, because look at how the Cowboys played last week. 3, the Ravens play really, really well, specifically Lamar Jackson against NFC teams.
Yep.
And 4, I don't think this team is as bad as they've started. And I think they're going to get better as the year goes on. I think the run game is going to do pretty well. I think Zay Flowers probably goes over 100 yards. Maybe Mark Andrews or Isaiah Likely, one of the two, kind of has a bigger game. And then looking at Dallas's offense, I think he just, he'd get some picks. Some, I don't know, whatever. Give Dak hell and don't let him run all over you, which shouldn't be too hard. So I'm going Baltimore. Yeah.
Next game we have the Niners visiting Rams. Niners. That doesn't really need much of an explanation, especially with the injuries on the Rams recently. I don't think they're going to win. The Rams. I don't think they're going to win at all. Maybe keep it a little close, but they're not going to win.
After week 1, I would have been pretty close on this.
Yeah,
and I could have leaned towards the Rams.
I would have said that too. But
without Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua,
you're not looking to,
especially because their run game didn't look great against the Cardinals last week.
Of all teams. Jeez.
So looking at it, it's like
they might pick them apart.
I think it's just the 49ers game to lose. I don't really think that it's like, necessarily fully in like out of the realm of possibility for the Rams to win, but it's just like it's in the 49ers. The ball is in 49ers court, and they just need to.
It is.
Not choke it away. Don't get in their heads too much about Minnesota, because Minnesota looks good, and it's okay to drop a game. I don't think the Rams are a team they should worry about.
Agreed.
And I think they'll be okay.
All right. Next, we got the Lions visiting the Cardinals. This might end up being an offensive shootout. I'm excited to look at this game if I can, or watch it. I do think the Lions have the slight edge because they're more well-rounded than the Cardinals. However, the Cardinals will put up a really good fight, especially with Marvin Harrison Jr. Having his rookie debut this last week, a really good one. And then the Cardinals actually somewhat being good, maybe, potentially. But I'm sticking with the Lions. Lions have a better, well-rounded team. But if the Cardinals do shock us and beat the Lions, I wouldn't be opposed.
Yeah, this one is one that I'm kind of going back and forth on. Lions have been a little sloppy. Cardinals have looked good. But it's also, you're playing the Rams, who didn't have Cooper Kupp for a lot of it. You played the
Yep.
Bills, who were off to a rough start in that first half. But I also think Arizona's kind of sneaky good. This is tough because, again, Lions are expected to be a good team.
Yes.
Cardinals are not expected to be a good team.
Yes.
Yet, for some reason, I'm kind of leaning towards the Cardinals. And
All right.
I think I'm going to give the Cardinals the home win.
Sweet.
Kind of give the Lions a chance to actually wake up a little bit.
Wake up.
Again, Marvin Harrison, if does he actually do well? Hard to say.
He'll
2
be
weeks in
going
a
up
row.
against
A revamped Detroit secondary
defense,
for
yeah.
sure.
Oh.
But it's kind of that offense more than anything with the Lions. Again, they've proven they can move the ball, but
They got to
scoring is
because 1-7 off of this last week in the red zone. That's not a good stat, so they need to fix that. And I think Campbell's on to that. So
yeah, I think it could make for a really good game.
it'll be entertaining if it's an offensive shootout. I enjoy it.
But then we go on to the Sunday night game.
Oh, great. Chiefs visiting the Falcons. This one's kind of a no-brainer, especially at the momentum that they're currently at. However, is this a primetime game?
It is Sunday night football,
Oh.
so this would be the one we'd be
Interesting.
streaming. Throws a little bit of a twist into it, doesn't it? You
Let's
don't
throw a dagger or two in there. Because, my mind wants to say the Chiefs because the Chiefs are always good. There's no way you can stop them. But also, the Falcons winning another primetime game with Kirk Cousins. Ooh.
2 in a row. 2 in a row. Can they do it? Will they do it?
What is your prediction? Because I want to hear you first before I finalize mine.
I'm gonna go with the Atlanta looked good on defense. I think their offense is gonna be able to do a little bit more. Maybe not even a little bit more, but I think they're gonna. They showed they have the skill set to go out and win in prime time and clutch.
Yep.
Again, Atlanta's going to be rocky early on, so this could be very, very far off.
Yeah.
But I think Atlanta has the chance, and I'm also just kind of rooting for Chiefs loss. So part of it is just going against the Chiefs because
Yeah.
I'm annoyed with the Chiefs right now.
Yeah, I think
But,
a lot of people are. 31 to 32 fan bases.
I think the Falcons also have a decent chance, an okay chance at least to win. It's kind of still a long shot because even though Kirk won in prime time last week, he still is not notorious. He's notoriously bad in prime time, and him doing it at home against the Chiefs, I don't have a good feeling about it, but I'm still gonna stick with Atlanta and just really high hopes for something positive this week.
I will join you only because Kansas City has lost Pacheco and they have lost Hollywood Brown. 2 very key pieces to that offense. I also would like to see a close game between these 2 teams. And it's very possible now. Falcons, like you said, rocky start. Maybe this is the turnaround and where they kind of find their groove, their form a little bit. For once, I'm not actually choosing against the Chiefs because I hate the Chiefs. I actually think the Falcons might be able to do something here. I don't know. There's something about this one I didn't think it would be as close as it would, but now since there's 2 injuries on the Chiefs offense in general has been looking a little sloppy. Travis Kelce has done nothing. Patrick Mahomes, even if he's Mahomes, you can't do everything yourself. The Falcons, they're more well-rounded. They've got all their pieces. I don't think there's any major injuries on the Falcons side of the ball. And I don't know. I like the idea of a Falcons upset. It'll be entertaining. So I'd like to see that. However, if the Chiefs do win, then it's just like, oh, it's whatever. It's just another win for the Chiefs. This is preseason for them at this point. So, oh well.
But going on, this is our first week with the double Monday Night Football games. First one being Jacksonville at Buffalo, and the reason why this one is tough for me is because teams that start. The reason I'm saying it's tough is not because I think one team is better than the other, but it is because teams that start 0-3 notoriously are not good at making the playoffs, aren't super competitive even when it comes to making the playoffs, and I don't think the Jaguars are not going to be competitive. Because at some point, I think they're going to have some sort of a turn it around game. And even though Buffalo has looked really good, I think the Jaguars could turn it around this week. The Bills is not... It's not my favorite team to have the Jaguars try and turn it around against. Just because, again, the Bills have looked really good. But, I mean...
I am sticking with the Bills.
Yeah, that would be...
In Buffalo, of all places. So I don't think Trevor Lawrence is going to be prepared for that kind of stuff. Also, it's not Trevor Lawrence. We agreed earlier it was coaching style. And if that's not going to change or not adjust to a certain style, then I don't know what else to do. So, unless you got something else for that. But I'm sticking with the Bills. If you're going to go underdog and choose Jaguars, then you can. But
don't know why. This is going to be... I'm still going to go 8-8 either way. I'm basically the Steelers. Ew. Yeah, I'll go with the Jaguars. I don't know why. I think they're going to fix stuff up. You have the pieces. Like you have a solid defense. Trevor can be that guy. You have a good running back. You have a young receiver who can do stuff. You have Gabe Davis, who showed that he can still do stuff too. You have a good tight end, an improved O-line. There's no reason they should be as bad as they are, especially on offense. They have everything there, and I think if it's either they turn it around this week or people might actually get fired, which is a lot saying that after 3 weeks, but how bad that is.
Yeah.
I mean,
it might end up happening, man.
All they got to do is score 20 points.
That's all they got to do, but we haven't been able to do it because that offense has been falling flat on its face for the past 2 weeks.
Yeah,
It's annoying because I know they can have good games. It's just their coaching is just not up to par with everything.
Yeah, I'm banking on something improving this week, and that might not even be going forward for the rest of the year. I just think this week specifically.
Yeah.
I think they're going to make an improvement, and I think because again, if it's not that, I think you look at, all right, we need to find our coaches for our staff for the future.
Yes.
So I'm gonna go with Jacksonville just on taking the gamble that they actually figure it out. It's not necessarily the smart move, but
and then our other Monday night game, Commanders visiting the Bengals. Bengals. Sure, they have a rough 4-game stretch usually. However, I don't see the Commanders going into Cincinnati and beating the Bengals. I don't see that.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for Washington.
They're not on the same level as the Bengals.
No, but again, this is the point in the season where they could. I think, but I also think the Bengals have to only be like 75% of what they were last week to beat the Commanders. Commanders edged past the Giants, which just wasn't a good look. And again, they've proven they can move the ball. They just struggled to actually get the ball in the end zone. I think the Bengals are going to be okay enough to win. I'm not going to bank on them being good
No.
yet.
Not
I
quite
want
yet.
to see that out of them first. But I'm going to kind of bank on that, and the Commanders, especially with main reasoning being really the defense for the Commanders has not been good so far this year, and I think the Bengals, Jamar Chase might just have a field day.
Go Bungles.
Yeah, you go bungle that.
Bungle.
So
Alright.
that wraps up our
The
picks.
predictions.
Yep, which obviously again I'll post a link to the pick'ems in the description, where you're welcome to join and compete against us. Josiah and I are in first at 16-16. It is
The epitome of an Steelers season. 8-8. Now 9-8, but still.
so we differed a little bit. So someone will take a lead.
Yeah, someone.
Yeah, it might not be either of us though. Could be someone else.
Yeah, it depends on who it is.
But yeah, so feel free to join the Pick'em League, and with the link below. I do have some semblance of a power rankings. I'm not super happy with it, but it's also because I have no idea at this point.
I don't think anybody has an idea who could be obviously you have the Chiefs, you have the San Francisco 49ers. They're good teams. They're definitely top 5. But like the rest of them, it's hard. It's hard to gauge them because it's like, is it just because they have good beginning of the season luck? Is it because they just had a pretty crappy start and they haven't found the rhythm yet? There's just too many factors going into right now, and I think by next week we'll have a solid idea of who could be good and who could be bad. But then again, we've had, like in the past, Jacksonville, we had them being so super bad a couple years ago, and then they ended up being 9-8 and going to the playoffs and beating the Chargers. And then last year, we thought they were going to be really good, competing for the AFC title, and completely missing the playoffs after starting 8-3.
Yep. So, I guess I can get into it. Well, we're gonna just count down from 10. Number 10 being, and there's gonna be some teams that are noticeably not in here. Again, it was also kind of just thrown together. Number 10 being the Chargers.
Honestly, I'm not upset about that.
I like what Harbaugh's gone in and done, and again, I don't think they're gonna be a flashy team, but I think they've
They've
won,
been consistent.
and they've won, again, not against necessarily good teams, but they've won in a solid fashion.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel comfortable with them at 10 right now. I had a couple of teams I wanted to put at 10, but realizing how many teams I could put in the top 10, they kind of slid down.
Yeah.
And fortunately, it's going to take at least another week for some of these teams. At number 9, I put the Lions.
Yeah.
I dropped them a bit just because I was not
It was a
happy
close
with what
game.
I saw.
It was a
And,
close game, but
they
it's a little disappointing on that end.
yeah. If it was like a lot of good defense from the Buccaneers, and not so much like sloppy turnovers. One particular interception didn't sit well with me with Jared Goff, but they just I had to drop them off a little bit after last week. I was a little disappointed with that one, which is really going to suck for any Lions fans because right above them at number 8, I have the Vikings, who, I mean,
I don't know about that one.
convincing win against the Giants. You went out and beat the 49ers.
I don't think they're top 10 though.
I mean, again. You got a better record than the Lions. You beat tougher competition than the Lions. Sort of, maybe.
Sort of.
And you looked pretty good doing it. So while I don't think the Vikings are really the better team, based off of how they've looked through the first 2 weeks, though I have them higher. Number 7, I have the Eagles. Drop them down a peg for losing to the Falcons. Who are another team that got left out.
Really?
Surprisingly. It was tough.
I would
fitting
trade
10
Vikings.
teams.
I would trade Vikings with Falcons, but even then, that's still a maybe for me.
After week 1, I don't think I could do that with the Falcons. Number 6, I have the Buccaneers. I had to put the Buccaneers,
Buccaneers
up there a little bit. We'll see how, I think, just throughout the year, if they can keep this going. I'm not sure if they can, but we shall see. But they've looked pretty good through 2 weeks. 49ers dropped them down from 2 last week.
Yes.
Again, a loss to Minnesota, which, you really shouldn't have, but you also haven't beat them in however many years. So I need to take you down a peg for losing. That's what happens. Texans at 4 because you were really close with the Bears. And yeah, the Bears have a really good defense, but still. And also you narrowly beat the Colts, who didn't look good last year either, last week either. So it's just you're winning. It's close, and I don't know. It's putting them at 4 is even you look at what they did last year and you look at the fact that they're 2-0. It's you could, but also based off of their play, I don't know if it meets number 4, but that's where they're at because I think they have the right to be above the people below them. This one is probably a little high, but I think they've earned it after 2 weeks. The Saints are at 3.
A little high, but yeah. I think that's where I'm going to trade them. Bump the Saints down to where the Vikings are, and then trade a couple of people. But
yeah,
I don't know.
Keeping the Saints at 3 just because I don't think they're going to be that good all year, or I don't expect them to. But after the first 2 weeks, I think they've earned a top 3 spot, even if it's just for a week.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they continue to do it, then I'm perfectly fine keeping them there.
No, definitely. I'd be more than happy.
Yeah, you do it again to the Eagles, and also Eagles will be bye-bye. But yeah, Saints right now, you look pretty good. I could have put you higher. I didn't, but just how dominant they've been through 2 weeks, and one actually being against a seemingly competent team in the Cowboys. So in Dallas. Number 2 is the Bills.
Wow, that's really high.
Well, they smacked the Dolphins, and they
did come back against the Cardinals. I don't know. That Cardinals game is what makes me put them lower, but maybe it's just because the Cardinals are good this year. I don't know.
I mean, to be fair, Cardinals were one of those teams I was trying to fit into the top 10 and just couldn't find space for.
You think Cardinals are top 10 right now?
Not in the top 10, but they were close. There were a couple teams. The Packers were close. Steelers were close. Seahawks I had as one of the first teams out. Obviously Falcons. Cowboys are right out there. There's a lot of teams that showed that they can be a top 10 team.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of just threw in who I feel like deserves it a little bit more. But Bills, again, you've looked good. Defense again had a little bit of issues against the Cardinals, but other than that, offense has looked good. Defense looked good last week. I think they're okay. And then one is the Chiefs because again, someone needs to actually beat them for them to drop.
Like I said earlier, I think going off of yours a little bit, I think I agree with most of them. Bills are a little high. Saints are definitely a little too high right now. I'd say the Saints are probably like 7 or 8 because it's just way too early for me to say that they're really good. Obviously, I think the Niners should probably be up there somewhere in the top 10. Let's see here. I don't think Vikings deserve top 10, but they deserve top 15. They're definitely in that 15 range. I just don't think they're that high. I don't know. It's also kind of hard because it's teams this early in the season tend to show like a false narrative. Because just as an example, last year we thought the Dolphins were really good because of that offense. When they played a good defense, they kind of the only defense that they played that was good was the Cowboys, and they somehow beat them. Everyone else was just a bad team. So, like that's the thing. Like, it could just be it's too early to see where people kind of land, but for me, I don't think certain teams should be up in the top 10 conversation. But like I said, anything can literally happen with this stuff. It's who can predict stuff this early? So, or at least know what it's like. So, well, that's where I'm kind of landing on right now. Next week, I'll definitely have a sense of who my rankings are. I think the first 2 weeks for me is just too chaotic, where I just need some time to figure it out. So yeah, that's where I'm at. Cool.
Fair.
Right. So if that wraps up everything, then thank you all for joining us for another predictions video. Like Will said, he'll put the Pick'em leagues in the description of this video, so you guys can join us. I'm hoping this can be the league that I will be number one in instead of the other fantasy leagues, because it's not looking too promising. But other than that, thank you all for joining us, and we shall see you during the live on Sunday night.
Bye.